when they came after me and were calling me a bigot and calling me transphobic and old and I don't know what I'm talking about and go away. Because, no, I remember they said something like, go away, we've got it from here. I was like, what?
Wow.
And that was almost 10 years ago. And I'm not, I'm the guy who's very independent. I don't need a community. I'd like to have a community. But I said, I said, mark my words, you are messing with the wrong guy. If it takes me 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, you will regret what you tried to do to me here.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Voices with Vicky, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Buck Angel, coming on to speak with us today. And I am so here for it. I am so excited. He's one of my favorite people. He's been a huge inspiration. He's part of the reason I started this channel in the first place. We are almost at the 1,000 subscriber mark, and if you have not subscribed yet, please do. Thank you all so much for the support. Thank you so much, Buck, for being here. I am so excited to have you come on and talk to me. I've been waiting for this for a long time. And I have to tell you, I have so much gratitude and respect for you because quite honestly, I don't think I would have gotten into this space or leaped into the YouTube space if it wasn't for you. So you've just given me so much inspiration to step up and speak that, what's right and what's wrong, and I think that's really the bottom line, there's a right and there's a wrong.
I mean, it just so thanks for saying that, but also it takes courage to also do it, which is a sad thing I have to say, but I think you just got fed up. You got fed up with the nonsense, and eventually that's what happens. You just finally just realize they want to scare you. That they want to scare you not to do what you're doing. So I have to say for you as well, you have courage to step up, which is I guess a good thing and a bad thing that you even have to have that kind of conversation, because you should, as a member of that community, you should not feel fearful to say something that doesn't necessarily, align. Is that even what does that even mean? Because I think a lot of people are more like us now than ever.
Well, yeah. And that's the thing is, and I was just talking to somebody about this whole conservative versus liberal thing. And someone had the nerve to say to me that being gay or lesbian is liberal. That's a liberal.
That's not true. That is actually not true.
It's a sexual orientation. What are you talking about? They've politicized identities, they've politicized sexual orientation, and so that's created this huge polarization within the community.
That's right.
And it's gotten, when I look back to say when I was young, even when I was a teenager up through now, I think about if I was growing up today, what my world would look like. And I think that you and I align in a lot of ways in that way, because everybody likes to accuse you of being a trans child.
That's right.
I hear that a lot. Oh, well, Buck was trans when he was a kid. I'm like, what are you talking about? Buck was a little girl.
That's right. 100%. And totally thank God I was just a little girl.
Yeah. And it's this is an adult, in the trans space, obviously, it's an adult decision. And I'm like, what is happening? We've given children, literal children, this buffet of labels to choose from. Very confusing.
Yep.
A lot of them are hypocritical. They don't, they contradict each other. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have been the most confused young person.
That's right.
If I had to deal with that.
Yep.
And it's almost like a pressure that you need to pick and choose these things. And
that's right.
What's even more astonishing about it is that they also are in a place now where everything is fluid and everything is under an umbrella. So even being, say, asexual or something, that's an umbrella thing. And sometimes it's, it's not really, asexual, it's this, but it's under this umbrella or that thing. They did the same thing with trans. Now lesbian is inclusive.
It's so embarrassing. I remember back in the day, there used to be a T-shirt was something like I'm a lesbian, or men would wear shirts that said I'm a lesbian, just because it's a joke, right?
It's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. It was a joke. It was a funny
Yeah.
joke, right? But like now people are taking it like to heart. Like anyone can be a lesbian. You know, they don't really the thing is I keep saying this, it's a war on women. Everything is about women. They're not really saying anyone could be a gay man or anyone can, use the men's room or anyone can identify as a man. They never say any of that. It's literally
No.
about women.
Every single time. Every single time it's about women. 9 times out of 10. Although in the gay space, in the gay male space, there are
Yeah.
more men coming to me and saying that they feel pressure or feel as though
Yes.
they need to be inclusive of trans men
I
who
know.
want to date them. And they're like, but I'm not interested, or I don't understand. Like, I'm like, I know how you feel.
Well,
You
that,
know?
as you know, my history is in the adult entertainment, and I did make
Yeah.
movies. Again, people need to understand what that means. Is it's a fantasy. I made a
Yeah.
fantasy. It was not reality based, okay? And I made a fantasy where I was doing certain things with men as a man with a
Mhm.
vagina. It was a whole fantasy thing.
Yeah.
My movies were not labeled gay porn. They were
Right.
labeled buck angel porn. That's what people don't understand. I created my own genre, my own niche. And it wasn't
Yeah.
because gay men would buy but they bought it as a fantasy, not as a reality. And so I get so mad at these young trans guys now who are like, I'm a gay man. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You have to be invited into the space and you have to respect. A lot of gay men are not cool with it. They don't like that. They don't like our bodies per se. There are some who do and who date. I know not lots, but I know some gay men who date trans men. You can do whatever you want. I know some gay men who've actually been married to women, but that is your own personal space. We're talking about an actual definition and the majority. And so the majority of gay women are not interested in men, and the majority of gay men are not interested in women, right? So what the heck? Why
Well,
why are we even having this conversation?
and it's dumb because if they do have those interests, okay, big deal, number one. But number two, okay,
Who
maybe
cares?
you're bisexual. So what? Or pan or whatever they
I
call
mean,
these
I'm
people.
bisexual. But I would say I lean way more towards women. But
Sure.
I have attracted to some men, and I've had sexual spaces with men in this space. But I would my majority sexual um experience and my emotional attachment is to women. And so yeah, what happened to being bisexual? And what but we've always bisexual has always been the stepchild of the LGBT community.
Yes, it has. And I feel when I was young and dating, every time I went out with a bisexual person, I always got dumped for a guy.
It's the gateway. It's the gateway.
Well, and I think sometimes people were just questioning or experimenting,
Sure.
and that's
Sure.
fine. But there
Sure.
are people who are legitimately bisexual and
100%.
legitimately like both. And,
100%.
that's fine too. This is about, in some ways, it's about just being mature. You know?
No, you just hit it on the head. It's literally about being mature. And the majority of this newer trans and queer and gay space is very immature. It's a lot of young people who think they're changing the world when we already did all that stuff, people. Androgyny is non-binary. That's what non-binary is. It's androgyny. That was done a million years ago, right? They're just renaming what we are. But, I wouldn't have even an issue with it if they didn't push on us. I would have no issue with them renaming whatever, but they're pushing on us to sort of push us out of it
Yeah.
and not include, you as just a basic old lesbian is what you are. You're just a lesbian. It's not a big deal.
It's
You don't
not
want
a
to see
big deal.
dudes.
No, I mean, and it's I what I when I first got into this, and when I first met you, and we first started talking, the a lot of the highlighted points were surrounding trans kids and how that's not a good idea and why
Yep.
and how
Yep.
blah. And then the trans women and women's sports thing, those are
Yep.
two big talking points. What I didn't realize until I got really deep into this was how homophobic this space
Yeah,
actually
it's
is.
true. It's
And
true.
it's terrifying. I actually did a whole video on it some friends of mine over on TikTok kept coming to me and saying, you need to see this. You need to see what
Wow.
these people are saying to us. And they block
Wow.
everything. They all get all of their comments
Wow.
and their conversations get shut down, taken down from
Wow.
TikTok. It's against community standards to
Me.
say that
Totally. Yep.
homosexuality is not a choice. We're back to saying homosexuality
Wow.
is a preference.
It's a preference. It's not, it has nothing to do with being choice. But I do want to say that, I think on some level, I did make a choice to medically transition. I did not choose to have gender dysphoria,
No.
but 100% I made an adult choice to say, hey, wait a minute here. I'm going to feel more comfortable presenting male. That was an actual choice. So for people to say being trans is not, on some level, medicalization is a choice. Okay, to actually have a attraction to another sex, that is not a choice. That is, and there's a big difference between preference, right? A preference, and again, that's why everybody wants to remove LGB from TQIA,
And
PP poo poo.
yeah, and that's something that I've struggled with because there's been moments where I'm in debates with people in conversation where I'm like, you know what? We do need to
Yeah,
separate. This is crazy. But
yeah,
I know
yeah,
so many good people that are
yeah,
transsexuals that I'm like, it is a very different experience and a different
yeah.
problem, if you want to call it a problem, to have when you have
Yeah,
dysphoria. Like I don't
that's right.
struggle with that on any significant level where I'm like,
No.
maybe I
Yeah,
should transition. It's a very rare, specific
that's right.
condition. And some people can live with it without transitioning. They
That's
just
right.
do what they
That's
need to
right.
do. They
Uh
work
huh.
through it with therapy or
Yep.
whatever. But the push to not go to therapy and to just jump into this, because now it's cool. It's cool to
I
have this
know. I know.
be a thing. And I'm like, but this is not cool. Like people actually like struggle and suffer and really
Well,
feel
that's
yucky in
why
their
I,
body.
it's why I always separate transsexual from transgender identity. Transgender is
Right.
an identity, right? This is not my identity. This is my actual disorder. And it's why I'm so happy for people like you and everybody to start using the word transsexual when it refers to me or Blair or Marcus or whoever, and then
Yeah.
using the trans for the other people who they are making a choice to identify as trans. They are making an actual choice to say, I'm a trans person. And I don't walk around telling people I'm a trans when people, know that I'm trans. But if I'm in just a movie theater or somewhere, I don't go around telling people I'm wearing a button and flying a flag.
Yeah.
That's how you can tell like they're literally flying their flag constantly. Like
Yeah.
that seems like a club. That doesn't seem
Yeah. Right. It is like a club. And and then they complain. And these are the extremists. They complain about people, knowing that they're trans, and
That's right.
they vacillate
That's
back and
right.
forth between
Yep.
them not wanting to fit in and to pass, to I don't need to pass, to and
That's
it's
right.
like whoa, whoa, whoa.
They're
And
confused.
well, an identity is rooted, and this is probably a controversial take because everybody's so freaking sensitive. Identity is rooted in choice. That's
Right.
self-ID, those lists of things, even the
Yes.
non-binary thing, those are choices that you make to label yourself.
That's right.
I don't identify as a lesbian. I just am a lesbian.
You just are. That's right.
What I find that's happening, and tell me if you agree with this, and I'm sure you might believe that it's part of the problem, is that these younger people today, they don't know how to read. They don't know
Oh,
vocabulary.
I know.
They
It's
don't
true.
understand vocabulary. They think
No.
everything in the vocabulary in the English vernacular
Yes.
is fluid, that it's interchangeable. You can move definitions around and they can become
All
other
right.
things magically
That's
because of
right.
their feelings. And
Yes.
it's like, no, there is some objective reality occurring and they're trying to identify out of something, I feel like.
Well, also, you can't change, and I've been saying this for a long time when they co opted trans, you can't change the definition of something that is already in use. So, for example, you can't just take on this trans label when trans was always in use as somebody who has gender dysphoria, gets this thing, moves forward in their life. Now you co-opted it and made it into a million things. It's the same with lesbian. You cannot take lesbian and change the definition to include men. And then all of a sudden, like, it's no, that's old buck. That's what it used to stand for. No, it's literally what you just said. You cannot change that. Like, you can't, like, my mouse, like, that's literally a mouse. And like, now you're going to start calling it a cat. Like, all of a sudden, like, now what are you talking about? I don't even know what you're talking about, because this is like, I know it as a mouse, and the whole effing world knows it as a mouse, not as a cat. So that's where they're being very gaslighty with us, and there's just so many levels of indoctrination and cult-like behavior and trying to remove definitions so that they can fit themselves into it, because they're everything that they are relying on is false. It's actually false. Yeah.
For you, when was it that you were like, wait a minute, this isn't the same community that, like, what was the moment for you?
Yeah. Well, the first initial into it was, I would say, almost maybe 10 years ago. And I was just doing my thing, and I was kind of, making my products, and the trans community was kind of there with me, and I was, just doing my thing, and I had an Instagram, and I was always doing these lives and blah, blah, blah. And then one day somebody said to me, there's this guy, can't remember his name right now, sorry, but he was like a young YouTuber guy. And he was just saying stuff about how non-binary is this thing. And I'm like, what? That's not trans. That is not trans. And I just was like, and they came after me. Like, the whole trans community came after me. Buck, you're just old, sit down, like, da da da. And I'm like, what? And next thing you know, they were just like, cancel Buck. Like, Buck Angel is a loser. Like, I'm just like, what? I was like actually appalled. So I actually was hurt from it. And I backed up from it. And I just said, I'm going to give myself a little time here to think what's going on. But it literally would not come back. They canceled me. They literally canceled me. And so I was like, okay. You want to play that game with me, friends? And I just started digging into this whole thing. And I'm like, you guys are making a huge mistake. You can't cancel me. So I veered to the right, and I said, I think there's something bad going on here. And that's when I just started to sort of, what was first initial thing was when they came after me and were calling me a bigot and calling me transphobic and old, and I don't know what I'm talking about, and go away. I remember they said something like, go away, we've got it from here. I was like, what?
Wow.
And that was almost 10 years ago. And
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm the guy who's very independent. I don't need a community. I'd like to have a community. But I said, and I said, mark my words, you are messing with the wrong guy. If it takes me 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, you will regret what you tried to do to me here. And that was it. It was like, nope, you just let a fire into my ass. I'm not going away. I helped build the actual transsexual male community. Yeah.
Yeah. It's when I first started noticing a problem. Well, so I've watched Ariel Scostella since the day she started.
Great.
So
wow.
From New York. I'm originally from New York.
Wow.
And I was watching her way back in the day. She used to come out with these like cute videos about what's a lesbian, blah, 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 and things like that. Well, then over the course of time, I noticed that she started to politically talk more to the right, and so many people hated her for it. It was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that ever happened. The conservatives have captured you. You're a bootlicker. Everybody hates you. And at first I remember going, that's weird. Like, these outliers in the gay community that are choosing to go more right. And I thought, well, maybe they really do have internalized homophobia. Maybe that's a thing. And I hadn't caught on yet. So then I kept watching, and I kept observing. And then I was like, whoa, there's some really good points coming out of this. There's some actual problems going on here. Like, this isn't just, conservative propaganda. This is real. So that's how it led me to other content creators. It led me to you. It led me to really seeing into this space what it was, and people getting more and more comfortable saying what they really feel.
Yeah.
And so it turned everything that they were trying to brainwash me with, turned out to be false.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to level with yourself and say, you know what, I was wrong about certain things.
Of course, but that's called maturity, friend.
Yeah. And they don't have the ability to, I find this with the whole Democratic Party right now.
Yes.
They don't have the ability to self-assess.
Oh no, they're horrible. Like I'm a 63-year-old. Okay. I was a Democrat my whole life. I do not consider myself a Democrat. I would say I'm more independent. I haven't gone all the way over to the Republican side. And I don't know if I'm just being that I'm scared kind of because of the whole sort of trauma from feeling like you're not supposed to be a Republican if you're LGBT, right? Like you're not supposed to do it. But I was having this, I want to pose this question to you because I was having this conversation with, do you know Hogatha? Billy Hogatha on IG. If you don't, he's the drag queen that I interviewed who's full on Republican and against kids. He's awesome. I should get you on. I should get him on your show because he's just one of my he's one of my good friends. Anyway, he's a full on hardcore Republican, and so I was just having this conversation. Like, do you notice like people like us who are more moderate or moving towards that, who are in the LGBT community, we get told that we can't be this. And I thought to myself, but why? Why can we not be this? Why does that make us anti-LGBT rights? And I started to think they gaslight us into saying that if we do that, if we go more towards conservative values or whatever you want to call it, then we are no longer part of the community. And do you notice that? Like we're not allowed to have our own, right? The community that says live and let live, be free, everyone should have a choice in how they want to live their life. That's liberal values and that's democratic values. Yet they don't play, especially LGBTQ. If you don't side with whatever narrative they're doing, you're not part of the community, which to me is not a community.
No. And I think it stopped being a community. Like it got worse and worse after same-sex marriage was passed.
Yeah.
Because
that's
after
right.
it was passed, all of the really bad people came into, HRC and GLAAD, the ones that we had kept out that were problematic. They kind of all swarmed after that because and Human Rights Campaign, they went with all of this because they wanted to keep the money flowing. So they basically made up fake causes. Which is so nefarious and disingenuous when I look back. Because I was and they used us. They used us because I remember feeling, oh no, trans people they're attacking the trans people now. I have to go help them. But it was far less of a problem than they made it out to be. And they were
because they need lying. That's right. Same with trans stuff. I was living my life perfectly fine, man. No one cared. Nobody cares about adults if you're not making a problem. So, and we could say with all of this community, they've destroyed the whole community. And I noticed once they were just having this flag and GLAAD, HRC, ACLU, they all just went like and grabbed a hold of something they knew was money making, because I'll show you how I know it's all money making, because they just exposed themselves. The Los Angeles Children's Hospital just shut down, right? Trans kids, pediatric trans, those words should never be together. Pediatric trans. What? So they closed down the clinic because they said because of the Trump administration. So I said, well, what does that have to do? If you are doing the right thing and you feel like, it's okay. Trump never said that you had to shut down. What Trump said was you will lose federal funding. He did not say that you have to shut it down. He said, if you continue to do this, we will not federally fund you anymore. So to me, that says that they're only in it for the money. Because if they actually really cared about these so-called trans kids, they would figure out how to keep this clinic open without federal funding. They could probably get California fund it because it's so disgusting here. But do you see my point?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's all about money.
Money.
It's all about money. And the problems that it's created is, I mean, these detransitioners.
Oh
now,
my God. Oh my
and they
God.
keep coming out. And it's even capturing people that are older that somehow get swept up in this. If they've got some other comorbidity going on in their head or something,
right.
and then they get into these trans spaces and get convinced of things, and then they're not pushing back. The psychology has failed epically.
Totally.
I think my opinion is that they need to, the gender affirmation model has to go. It has to go.
Well, I mean, the whole thing has to go. I'll be honest with you. The whole trans healthcare system has to go. Okay. If I'm going to suffer a little bit, okay, I'm good. You know, I told everybody that if you don't stop this, we are going to be destroyed. We have to stop it in its tracks right now. And we need to reevaluate, and we need to get responsible trans people to actually help get this back on its feet, because trans people do exist. You and I both know. You're sitting next to one right now. But that being said, if the fact that these people destroyed everything that many of us, including me, fought to get so we could just move forward in our lives, now we're all going to suffer from it. But like I always say, I'm willing to lose a little bit to gain in the future, because I will not tolerate children being hurt around this. And every day I see another kid come out as a detransitioner. And every day I'm like, I don't even want to be attacked. Scars, right? A mustache, like what?
Surgeries they're giving these
Absurd.
young people, and they're not done right. They're just slicing them open. And
have you ever seen my chest?
Yes.
I have 0 scars.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
How did I get this 30 years ago? Okay, 30 years ago. And now they're doing the complete opposite of what they did. And then they're talking these kids into saying it's sort of like they're scars. Like it's part of being part of the thing now. It's part of being trans is to make scars. I'm like, that is not trans. You're supposed to want to look like a man and walk the world as a man. Now you're walking the world as a trans person with gigantic scars across your... No.
Who would want this? Who would want that? There's got to be the mental health system.
Yes.
Is so lazy that they did this and allowed these people to get through into the door of being trans. It needs to be gate kept. Sorry, but
don't even be sorry. That's actually, a lot of things are gate kept. You can't go to the doctor and say, I have diabetes. You have to be tested, and you have to, right, I have cancer. No other illness would let you self-diagnose as an illness. And it's also the mental health care system went off the deep end. There's a woman who just blew a whistle. I'm going to bring her onto my show. She's really awesome. She got fired from, or not fired. She got, let go from the school. She was taking classes as a therapist, and they were forcing her to one thing, BDSM, all this stuff that they were forcing her to learn. She's a Christian, and then you had to write your sexual fantasies in front of the other class people, and then you had to talk about. I'm like, what? What does that have to do? And also, every therapist should have a specialty on some level. And if you don't want to have trans people in your clinic or in your practice, you should be able to say, I'm not the person for you. I'm not the clinician for you, right? But now they're forcing therapists to sort of take all of this on, and it's so interesting to me that we are now making mental health care a box when your problems are not my problems, right? And we might need different therapists to move forward in the world. And that's the real scary part, is they're making everything just like a box.
Yeah. Somebody recently said to me that they were talking to somebody that was a therapist, and they weren't allowed to talk about detransition.
Oh my God.
Because of internalized transphobia.
It's so sick. You better talk about detransitioners, and that's the best thing you could do to a young person. You can say, you better make sure, because look, this is what happens when you change your mind. That to me is one of the most solid things for somebody to see when they want to transition as a young person, is a detransitioner, because it's gonna okay, maybe you're right. Maybe I should wait a little while. I'm never going to
Yeah.
detransition. It clearly works for the person who does the work to get there. And that's why on both sides of the aisle, I'm not liked, because on the aisle of the people who believe that I don't exist, right? They don't want to talk about me. But then also on the trans side, when I say I was not a trans kid, I cannot stand those people putting those words in my mouth. I was not a trans child. I was a little tomboy.
Yeah. But, and what's interesting is that so was I,
That's right.
And
that's right.
so
That's right.
there was a difference between you and I, but that's something that you should figure.
I found out on my own. And also, I will always tell you, I value my time as a gay woman. I value it highly. It was one of my best times of my life. I just couldn't continue to live as a female. That doesn't make me bad or good or whatever. It just, like, I'm so happy I got to experience being a gay woman, because it made me a stronger man, if that makes sense, right? And so how dare people. And also, remember how they always tell you in this trans space, like, everyone's journey is different. They're constantly saying things that they never stand behind. It's like, I thought everyone was different.
Right. Everybody's journey is different, but that doesn't mean that you should just do whatever you want and have no parameters around.
Or every butch every butch girl is trans now. They don't even talk about gay now. And that's the other thing. How come we're not talking about gay kids, right? Kids, you remember, I was attracted to girls at 10.
Kids were not gay. Kids were
That's
never
right.
gay.
Never gay. Never. And
No.
that we shouldn't be talking about gay kids. I totally agree with that. But that being said, little kids also have attraction. Some grow out of it, some don't. But what about high school? How come we're not talking about in high school? High school, I think, is okay to start talking about your sexual attraction.
Because you've gone through puberty, you're starting to
17, 18-year-old high school kids will start to have attraction. And we should talk about that. And we shouldn't just say you're trans because you're a masculine woman in high school who's attracted to other girls. All of a sudden that makes you a boy, or, it's like, no, that's not true.
Yeah, it really is the erasure of. They
100%.
say transing the gay away. They call it transing the gay away.
I know, it's actually so sad.
That has got to bother you so much as somebody who's lived as a lesbian woman and has transitioned and been happy. That must infuriate you. And
that's right.
I try to put myself in your shoes. I obviously can't, but it has to just make you crazy to hear these insane things that they're doing.
It's sick. And it's why I fight for women's rights. I fight for kids. I will not be a part of that narrative. How dare you let somebody, how dare you even just say stuff like that? It's become, and then how they changed the whole history of the LGBT, that it was black trans women who started. I'm like, if I hear that one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. Black trans women weren't even around. When I was transitioning 30 years ago, black trans women were mostly sex workers, by the way. They had no time to be protesting with signs. They were trying to survive as black trans women. That's why I'm telling you it's all bullshit, because there's no way. These black trans women were struggling hardcore being black and having to deal with it. And then on top of it, transitioning. All my black trans women friends no one was even near activism. They weren't even near it. They weren't doing that. They were just like, we need to survive.
Well, they prop up poor Marsha P. Johnson as
it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
As the center stage of
disgusting
of people, and they all they talk about is Stonewall. And I'm like, do you realize how many movements and how much happened before Stonewall was even a thing?
Actually, here in LA, did you know that here in LA we had the first? It was before Stonewall, and it's at the Black Cat right here in Silver Lake, and it was before Stonewall, and it was a huge gay riot thing which were mostly white gay men. And no, you're right, they're just gaslighting. But I looked at is it Marxism or fascism where they start to change the history? I think it might be Marxist.
I believe it's a Marxist thing.
Yeah.
This postmodern view that nothing is objective, like nothing is has like an objective truth, like nothing has meaning anymore. So and it kind of plays right into this thing about gender and like erasing the binary.
Yes, so scary. I mean, I'm a binary transsexual. I want to be a man. Like, stop
Yeah.
it. I don't want to be trans. Like, guys, I don't even know what that means. What are you transitioning to? What?
Yeah. It's a very it's all just some strange experiment. I feel
It
like
is.
that they've
It
started
is.
to
It
play
is.
around with people.
Yes.
It's like, it reminds me of like the eugenics stuff. I'm like,
100%.
oh, like,
Yep.
and then, but if we talk that way, they call us Nazis. I'm like, but what you're doing.
Oh my God. I'm literally in a Jewish space and I get called Nazi. I'm like, you people are sick. You people are so sick. You don't even, like, again, the twisting of it. It's why you got to just disconnect from it. Because if you let it come into your psyche, you will actually become dark. They're all dark, evil people. They are. They've been captured by whatever space you're in. It's some dark, evil spirit thing that has captured a lot of these people. They have no consciousness, no morals. They're dead inside.
And they can't read. I
They can't read.
can't stress enough that they don't have any vocabulary skills.
It's so sick.
And it's a really big problem, because if you can't read, then you can't properly communicate either. And then,
Well, don't you see that?
And then if they can't communicate, they can't form meaningful relationships.
Don't you think that was the objective there? They were dumbing everybody down. They were literally dumbing everyone down, because when you dumb people down, you can control them. And that's why in our school systems, we have the worst, like, students in the whole world, basically. They're all, like, they can't read and write. You're 100% right.
Oh, it's so scary to see.
It's a plan. It's a total plan. That's not our house. Our kid has to read books and play piano and take Russian lessons. And no, we're not doing that. You don't have TikTok. You don't get to do all of that. We have a nerdy little kid who plays, he's out now with his friends. He's out of school playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like, no, we got a nerdy kid, thank God, who likes to read. And me with a nerdy kid. I think it's kind of funny, actually.
I like it. I was a little bit of a nerd myself growing up. I like seeing that. It's still there. It's still real.
I can see that. I can totally see you as a nerd. And nerds are cool. I think nerds are the cool, like hopefully we're going to get the next generation of kids out of all of this insanity and TikTok. I think this is a social experiment, and that generation of kids are screwed. They're actually screwed. I don't know if there's any coming back. So my generation of kids coming up, they all make fun of trans and non-binary. They all think it's ridiculous and stupid. So I think there is something saving. Yes.
That we'll go back to. I mean, you were saying earlier that you get it from both sides. Yeah. And I'm in the same exact position. So I get people on the far right once in a while that are like, you're going to hell because you're a lesbian. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. How many times have I heard that? But
I know.
I get these people on the left that are screaming at me, telling me that I'm a transphobe, I'm a homophobe, I'm a bigot, I'm all that. But then there's also another group, which I know you've had experiences with, and those are the extreme gender criticals.
Oh God, they hate me.
Police the shit out of your speech. And I go right to the point with these people, and I say, look, if you're not going to police my speech, I won't police yours, and then maybe we can still have a conversation, because otherwise it's not going to happen, because you're too fixated on how I choose to refer to Buck Angel as, or how I choose to refer up to Blair White as. That is coming out of my mouth, and I will fix my mouth however I want to fix it. So
also, like, who are they? They're just the same as the trans activists. They're literally the same thing that they are professing to. I'm like, no, they do. Oh my God, some of the stuff those women say to me is so absurd. I'm like, I'm actually fighting for your rights. Like, what do you talk? It's all your fault that these kids are all porn addicted. I'm like, what? I made adult entertainment. I never brought kids into it. Like, and also it's a free country. If you don't like porn, don't watch it. No one's forcing you. Like, what?
I've always viewed pornography as kind of like drinking or doing like drugs or like smoking pot.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
If you want to engage, it's an adult thing. You do it in moderation. The end.
That's
like
100%. You can become an addicted space. There's no doubt, like a
Yeah,
lot of things,
with a
right?
lot of things.
But
With a lot of
but
things.
stop shaming people
Yeah.
for wanting to do something that you don't want to do. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
it's a legal, excuse me, business. It's a legal platform. We're allowed to make it.
I feel like there's a line between
Yes.
the like what's healthy, what's not, and the fact that these kids today, they have access to it though. Like when you were
Horrible.
doing this, they didn't
Horrible.
have access. They
I'm
didn't have
full on
access.
against that. I talk about it all the time. When I did it, I was DVDs, but barely internet existed. It's disgusting how accessible it is to children and young people. And it becomes an addiction because you can immediately, before you had to go to the shop or you had to buy the DVD, it was like, there was like a wall there, right? And also early internet, we had walls. You had to have a credit card. There was no such thing as OF or, Pornhub or any of that. None of that existed. And now it's just free for all.
Which is
dangerous. Imagine having the liquor store down the street and it's a free for all. Everyone's going to start drinking. COVID.
They would never be able to keep booze in stock.
COVID is a perfect example of that. Everybody got drunk and wasted and ate Doritos and got like totally out of control because that's the human nature. When you give things like, it's a human nature to just go off on the deep end. So anyway, Vicki, thanks so much for having me. I totally appreciate you always having the conversation with me. Let's just keep building and, getting everybody to sort of maybe understand a more nuanced space with LGBT people.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for everything you do and for this great friendship that we've built over the past,
totally
over
awesome.
2 years, I think. It's so great.
Yeah,
and,
I know. I love it.
So I will talk to you soon. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
friend.